and greetings from Chicagoland. I'm Munira Zahabi, the niche navigator, and welcome to Munira's Musings. I'm your host, podcaster, author, coach, and international speaker. Each week, I bring you insightful conversations with extraordinary individuals who share their unique perspectives and stories. Join me on this captivating journey as we explore new ideas and inspirations. Now, let's dive into today's episode with our special guest.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira from Munira's Musings, also the niche navigator, coming to you live with another guest. Our guest today is Jeannie Kestner. Hi, Jeannie. How are you?
Good. Hi, Mira.
And welcome to Munira's Musings. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we bring these shows to you because we are always about asking other people what their end goal in life is, and why are they here today? What are they doing with the gifts they've received, and how did they get to the gifts that they have right now, and how are they helping other people? You know, Tony Robbins always says that you have a gift, share it with the world. So how are you sharing your gift? And this is also for the other entrepreneurs who are thinking they want to be entrepreneurs but are not jumping into the sea with us. So without further ado, let's talk to Jeannie. Jeannie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I live in Tennessee. I am a single parent of an only child who is grown now, so he's kind of flown the coop. And that's where my journey started, was realizing that when he was a senior in high school, I was again going to be by myself. I didn't have anybody to take care of anymore because he was going off to college and starting his own life. So that was kind of where I was lost and really thinking about who I was, because my identity had been lost in being a mom, you know, being a provider, being the one responsible for everything. And that's where my self-discovery journey started. And through that journey that I walked, I was able to rediscover who I was, have a new passion, figure out what my purpose was in life. And I decided that I wanted to help other women who may be in the same situation as I was, kind of figure out where they're at and where they're going, and to reclaim their identity if it's been lost in their marriage or their work, or if they're going through some type of transition in their life and they're not sure what the next steps are.
So let me ask you this. Why women?
Well, women are usually who are drawn to the coaching program that I do, but also it's my experience. So I can help others through the same experience. And I don't have, the insights that, a man would have. I would be happy to coach men to reclaim their identity, but it seems like women more so than anything kind of lose our identity because we are the nurturers. We are the ones that want to just genetically take care of others. And sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves and we get lost in that. And then there comes a time in our life where we're like, all of a sudden, we don't know who we are anymore.
No, I understand. So thank you so much for sharing that. So when you say we are nurturers and we forget our identity, I understand that because we are a wife, we are a mother, and we are also a mentor to other kids. We are a referee, a coach, a teacher, after school teacher, if you will, and we're wearing too many hats. When you have a child, or when you have to figure out now what's next, why is it that you need help to figure out who you are?
Well, for my personal journey, it was just, I didn't have a support system at home because obviously I was a single mother. And so there was no one, I was not close to my family at that time. And I didn't really have that example to follow. So I did not know the steps needed to figure that out. And that really brought me closer in my faith too, was to figure out my purpose. And to figure out what I was good at. I knew I was good at being a mom because I raised a child, and he's doing very well. But what else was I good at? How do I figure that out? What does that mean? What does it look like? So that is the journey that I took, and a lot of people don't know. We've helped women that have broken relationships with their children and or with other family members. We've helped women just become closer in their faith. We've helped women accomplish their goals. Sometimes we just, as women, have a hard time asking for help because we're always the one that's doing for others. So we like to be there. I like to be there as just a support system to help other women through some of the and navigate some of those questions.
So in your journey and working with women, you've been doing this for almost how long now?
I started mentoring women like back in 2016, 17, but I really started it as a profession in 2018. So about, let's see, 7 years now, almost 8.
Okay, great. So in your journey and working with women, what is the one thing that you have seen that holds women back?
I would think the one thing would be like their confidence, that they don't feel like they can do. Once you get their confidence and their inner strength sorted out, they can usually believe in themselves again. It's just that belief in self. Sometimes they don't have it.
So then, for those people who are not working with you and our listeners, how do they find this confidence? It's not bottled and sold in Walmart. You all know that. So what steps should those women take if they don't have the means to find a coach like you? What steps should they do to get that confidence back or attain at least a little bit of it at some point?
Absolutely. Well, the program that I walk through with people, it leans a lot on journaling and the inner work, the inner perspective. I would say to start by journaling your dreams, your feelings, your goals. Journal, write them out. There's something about getting your left brain and your right brain connected on paper that will really help you sort those feelings out. And then once you have a goal that you want to work on, take the steps to do that, but take small steps so that you can get those little wins right away. And then as you start to get those little wins and you start to achieve those smaller goals, then you can work towards the bigger one. So take your great big goal, break it down into really small, tiny steps, and then do those little goals until once you start getting that momentum of getting those wins in, that's where your confidence is going to start to build, because then you see you can do it. You can accomplish this. You have the strength to do this. And that's where that's going to build from.
So give me an example, like one of your clients that you worked with.
Absolutely. I had a lady that had a hard time saying no. She was a giver. She was an overgiver. And she would give, whenever somebody would ask her to do something, oh yeah, I'll take care of that. I can do that. I'll add that into my schedule, to the point to where she got overwhelmed. And then she got disappointed when she wasn't able to follow through on, 100%. So we worked with her really on her boundaries, because she had the confidence. She had the confidence of Superwoman, thinking she could do everything for everyone. And that's just not possible. You end up burnt out. And then you end up with that self-disappointment where you're feeling so bad that you couldn't do all these things. So we had to work with her about her boundaries and that it's okay to say no. And we worked with her just with small habits, just getting her schedule, writing her schedule down with everything that she had committed to. And then really looking to see, black and white on paper, that she doesn't have all the time in the world. She had 2 small kids that she was also taking care of. And to let her see that every time she said yes to somebody else, it was taking away from her family time, her time with her kids. And sometimes you need that like really stark contrast to figure out that, okay, I do need to put my family first. I do need to put my self-care first. And it was easier for her to see that it's okay to say no. And the first couple of times that she turned things down and found out that the world didn't end, or they weren't angry at her, they just went to the next person on the list to see if they could take care of that task, it became easier for her to kind of ease her conscience in thinking that she couldn't be everything to everyone. So it was those small steps, those little no's, that helped her really figure out that it was okay to say no, to set those boundaries. And really her relationship with her family became stronger because she had more time with them. She was respecting that area of her life a little bit more. So anything you do, I am a certified Tiny Habits behavior change coach. So anything that I do, we always recommend you do it in small portions, just small steps, because those small steps build into great big mountains.
So I didn't know there was a tiny habits certification course. How does one do that, and what are the positiveness, the positive aspects of this habit?
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you think about it, everything we do in life is a habit. Breathing, blinking, eating, it's all habits. And it's how we are able to control those habits that really will determine whether we have a great life, a good life, or a bad life. Everything we do is a choice. Everything we do is a choice. So
now you're asking my listeners to go back and assess themselves.
Yes. It's that deep inner work. You have to go back and assess. But if you want to learn about tiny habits, there is actually a book called Tiny Habits by a professor at Stanford University. His name is BJ Fogg. That's kind of where my journey started to learn how to become. And he also has a certification course that you can take to become certified in tiny habits, or you can reach out to me and I can help you learn how to do that. But you have to assess yourself. Before you try to change anything, you need to know where you're at. It's kind of like when you're sitting in your car and you want to go somewhere. Well, what's the GPS going to ask you? They're going to ask you your current location, and then they're going to ask you where you want to go before the GPS can even tell you which direction to turn in. So it's kind of like that when we want to make a change in ourselves in any direction, whether it's a career change, a relationship change, a habit change, a health change. You have to assess where you currently are, and then you have to decide where you want to go, and then you have to map out that road to get there. And that's what I try to help my clients with, is we do the assessment of where they're at right now, and then we do the deep inner work of where they want to go, what they want to change, or what's not working in their life that they want to work, and then we map out the steps and the path to take to get there.
So in your coaching, there's no cookie cutter. You work with them individually.
Yes.
And everybody is different.
Yes, everybody is different. I do have a 7-week and a 14-week coaching program that I do with a fellow faith-based coach. And those are group coaching, but it's all individualized because of the way that we deliver it. Everyone's working on their own goals, but we have developed a framework that is a process that everyone needs to go through to get to their goal, no matter what goal they're working on. We have 8 pillars that we go through, that we teach those that go through those classes that don't want to either do the individual courses with us because of whatever reason, financial, time, whatever. But we do have these group coaching. And sometimes the group coaching, because there's a community built there, the women really lean on each other, or they'll go to each other because you're more comfortable. You're with other people that you know are going through the same thing. So you become more comfortable because you know you have that community of support. But we go through eight pillars, which is we do structure, we teach them about habits, we hold them accountable, and we work on relationships, how to define those and how to fit them into your life. We work on personal growth, which is like your boundaries, your why, who can you lean on when you do get stuck. And then we go into your productivity, where we really set your goal and teach you how to get to your goal. And this is all done through your faith, no matter what it is. It could be the universe, whatever you lean on, whatever your belief is. And then we always, the biggest part is journaling, getting from here on paper. I always tell everyone that if you have a goal that's not written down, it's not a goal, it's an aspiration. It's just a dream, it's just a thought. Until you put it on paper and you make a plan to achieve that goal, it's just a wish. It's just an aspiration.
Got it. No, and this is a very perfect analogy, because the fact is that you have to have a framework and they have to go through these hoops to get to the other side. Is just amazing, right? Everybody has to go through those hoops. Even Olympians do that, right? We just finished the Olympics, right? Yes. So what's one piece of advice that you can tell my listeners?
I would say my biggest piece of advice is know yourself and know why you want to change. There's a lot of times that, especially if you're dealing with a client that's overwhelmed, like everything, they're trying to juggle everything. And they're just overwhelmed and they don't know where to start or what needs to be changed. The best thing is to sit and journal. Just write down everything that comes to you. Write down why you're unhappy, why you're struggling. What are you feeling? What's coming up emotionally for you? Write all that down and then really analyze what you've written down. Set it aside for a day or two and come back and read it again with more constructive eyes and say, okay, so I'm struggling here, or I really am really emotional around this area or this event, but you have to know yourself. I call it a study in self, where we have a life assessment wheel, which I'm happy to give to your listeners if they want to reach out to get that, that covers those 8 pillars. And it's kind of a way for them to evaluate where they are underneath those 8 areas of their life, so they get a really good idea about where they are right now. And it will show them compared to each area. Like if you have your habits and your relationships and you take this evaluation, maybe you can look visually and see that, oh wow, my habits are really low. I really need to figure out how to get better with my habits. So you really have to study yourself first. Whether that's through an evaluation or journaling. Sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to do that deep thinking about the true self that we are. It's scary sometimes because we have this facade that we want to put out to the universe and to our community and to our families. We're super women, we can do everything. But inside, sometimes we don't want to look because it's so messy and ugly. And, it's like when you're trying to clean your house when guests comes over and everything goes in the closet, you shut the door. But when you open that closet door, everything falls out. And that's the messy that sometimes we don't want to look at. But you have to if you're going to change.
So you've talked about journaling a lot. So let me get back to that a little bit. What, in your opinion, when you said the left brain and the right brain, can you give us a little bit of example, and why does, in your opinion, journaling help so much?
Okay, you've got your creative side of your brain, and then you've got your logical side of your brain. And most of the time, those two do not work together. But when you are taking a pencil or pen and you're putting it to paper, the creativity comes because you're creating something, you're writing the words on the paper. The logical comes because you're having to think about what you're writing. And so and it's kind of like in school way back in the day where you had to write your vocabulary words, each of them 10 times on paper, because that repetitiveness and that act of, there's a neuroscience behind it that I haven't memorized yet, but you can look it up, like the neuroscience behind writing your goals. And but journaling just helps you in so many ways. One, it gets both sides of your brain working, so you're working with all of your thought. And when you journal, and it's a private thing between you and yourself. You're not having this conversation with someone that you might be embarrassed to say something, or you don't want to tell them about this because you feel so bad. It's a secret. It's I don't want anybody to know that. But when you're journaling, you're talking to yourself. And so you're more open. You're more apt to say the real feelings that are going on, the bad stuff that you don't want to say because you don't want to hurt anybody else, but you're getting it out. And sometimes when we hold all that negative energy in, it can manifest in a physical way. The anxiousness, the overwhelm, the anger. But if we can journal and get those thoughts and emotions on paper, it helps us process them better.
So then, being a devil's advocate, do you think we can voice note ourselves, or do you think we should write?
You can voice note. I voice note myself sometimes, like if I'm in a situation where I can't journal and I really have to get something out because I might say something bad to somebody else or whatever, or a note that I want to remember or an idea that comes in. Sometimes I'll voice note, but how often do you, unless you're actually translating those, do you go back and listen to it? Yes, you can get it out, but you don't always go back and revisit that voice note unless it's for a specific person. Like, you've had an idea and you voice noted it real quick because if you didn't, you'd lose it. But you're going to go back and listen to that. But if you just had a rant because someone cut you off and you've got a little road rage going on or something, you're probably not going to go back and listen to that. But I would recommend that you do listen and write it down. There is just something cathartic about just writing it on paper and having that process, because we think in pictures. Our mind works in pictures. So if you're voicing something, you're just seeing those pictures flip through your mind as you're talking into your recorder or your phone or whatever. But when you write it down, that's when the thought comes into it, because you have to think about what you're writing. So it's not just the thought that you're getting recorded on a recorder. You're actually having to think about those words as you put them out. And as you're thinking about them, that's when your heart comes into play. And that's when you really put more meaning behind those words. So that's what I think works about journaling.
No, so you brought a good point, and you said start putting it down. Now I'm open here with a journal, and I don't know what to say. Like, this is my very first day. What would I write?
I recommend that, one, you write whatever pops into your head. It does not have to make sense. And that's the thing I think that keeps people from journaling so much, is they're like, I'm not a writer. I don't know what to write. How do I start? You just start by saying the sky is blue, the grass is green. Oh, I stubbed my toe this morning. Just whatever pops into your head. When I started journaling, I actually started out just gratitude journaling. Every morning when I woke up, or every evening before I went to bed, I would write 3 to 5 things I was grateful for that day. Well, then it progressed to like, why am I grateful for that? So it could be as simple as making a list of things you did that day, just to record whatever happened to you at the end of the night. Now I have 3 journals, and they have very specific, very, very specific uses. I have one in the morning that I keep on my table when I go through my morning routine. And that is mostly, what are my intentions for today? What are my plans for today? So while I'm having my coffee and I'm doing my thinking, my meditating, what are my plans today? What are my intentions? All right. And then I have a journal that I usually just keep in my bag, in my purse. I travel with it. So if something happens to come up, or an idea comes to me, I can write it down. And then I have at night, I have what I call my dump journal. And it stays next to my bed. And I've done this for many years, and I really attribute this to my peaceful sleep. Every night before I go to bed, I do what I call a brain dump. Anything that's in my head, any unfinished business, any arguments I might have had, anything that went well that day, any questions that I have, any problems I need to work on, I put them in that journal. Sometimes it can end up being a paragraph. Sometimes it ends up being pages. Just depends on what's going on. But at night, that's the last thing I do before I turn my lights out and put my head on my pillow. But I always close it, put my hand on it, and say, I give it to you, God, and I go to sleep. Because then it's no longer my problems. I've given it to the universe. I've given it to the powers that be. I've given it to my religion. And I sleep so well because I know that that's going to be figured out. And when we sleep, we have our subconscious and our unconscious working for us. And I really think putting my thoughts in that journal lets my subconscious and my unconscious really work out those things for me. They send the energy out in the universe to align things to help me. Sometimes, have you ever woke up in the middle of the night and said, oh my God, that's the answer I've been looking for. But then you go back to sleep and it's totally gone. If you had a journal next to your bed, you could write that out. Or if you wake up in those first fleeting moments before you're completely awake, the answer comes to you that you've been searching for days. That's because we've given the power to our unconscious and subconscious mind to work that out for us. Our minds are just incredible, incredible things.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeannie, for sharing that with us. So tell our audience where you can be found.
Okay, we can be found online at thefrogprogram.com. We can be found on Facebook at Life Journey Strategies. Or you can go to bit.l/chat with Jeannie if you want to schedule a free consultation or just to chat with me. I love to have coffee chats and get to know people. So if you want to get on my schedule, you can use that link.
Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, there you go. After all of this, we just figured out that journaling is a very great way to put your thoughts down and start talking about your problems to the universe. You never know what's going to come up. And we've had a few other guests before who have also talked about this, but we've never taken this seriously. But it seems to us right now that you may just start journaling, because that could be the way when you put things down on paper. Now, Napoleon Hill also says, when he gives you the list of 15 things that you got to do, one thing is put it down on paper and make sure that it is in a place where you can see it. And every one of us wants to be successful. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so if you want to take the next step, go ahead and find Jeannie or myself, and let's see what we can do for you. And until next week, when we find you another guest, we bring you another guest with their journey to their story and their niche. Please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next week. Until then, have a good week. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. That was great.
Thank you. I had no idea that's the direction it was going to go in, so that was great.
It's always like that. You never know where it's gonna go. And sometimes, like, I never wanted to speak about this. And then we've got people. Sometimes they just start crying, and I don't know. It's been a wonderful journey when I started my podcast. Okay, so one thing I want to ask you is, I want the framework. Your framework, just the 12 steps or the 8 steps that you talked about. Yeah, I want that because I'm working through my stuff and I don't know what a framework looks like. So when you said framework,
I'll send you a link that has the wheel assessment, and the wheel is our framework. The little 8 assessments you take is our framework. So I'll send that evaluation to you, and you can take it and kind of see what it looks like.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Niche Navigator. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your support really helps us keep bringing you amazing content. For more updates and behind-the-scenes glimpses, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and all our other social platforms. The links are in the description below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next week.